Well, I almost said good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me this afternoon and us and Susie. I appreciate it because I know that there's several things and several choices. So I do appreciate it. Like she said, my name is Deborah Lucan. I'm an instructional designer at the University of Central Florida. And let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen here. And okay. Oh, okay. So can everyone see that? My Scrabble tiles in the front? Oh, I lost audio. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
we can hear you. We can hear
Okay,
you.
okay. It just got really, really quiet. So I was okay.
I was
And
talking away. I was muted. Sorry.
okay. Yeah, if we had a dime for every time we said that. Okay, so we can see my screen, right? Good? Okay. So thank you for those that have joined me today, and thank you for putting in the chat some of your favorite games. And I hope today that we'll be able the opportunity to share some kind of tips and possibly some tools that can help you to think about adding games into courses to increase engagement. So our plan for today, so we've got 45 minutes. Hopefully we'll get to play some games. Just to give you some, just for some fun, because if anything comes out of this, Friday afternoon playing some games, that's fun. So then we'll talk about a little bit about what games are, what is gamification and the difference between the two. Then we'll also talk a little bit about why we should use games, and hopefully we'll have some time to kind of brainstorm and maybe think of some ideas for some possible games and kind of discuss that, and then wrap up. Sounds good? All right, so the first game that we're actually going to play is, everybody's kind of familiar with sort of the I Spy, where you kind of see the different things. Well, I'm going to give you, let me set my timer here, 45 seconds. I'm going to show you a picture. And so what I'd like you to do is, I'll give you a second if you don't have a piece of paper or something handy to jot down, or either a count or list or whatever. But I want you to count how many different game pieces that you see in the picture. And by different, I mean different types, not necessarily different colors. So there may be things that are the same that are red or green or white or orange. And I know that this is a visual game, so if people have an issue with the images, you can just list as many as you can think of. So are we ready? Okay, go. Five seconds. Okay, so how many pieces did you see? You can put in the chat if you can unmute if you want. Wow, okay. Let's see, seeing 18, 25, 19. Okay, 7, 17. Wow, okay. A lot wider numbers than I kind of expected. So let us take a look. I counted 14 different pieces. So let's see here. So we've got our 6-sided dice. There's a lot of different ones there. There's a little Monopoly hotel there. And looks like that's one. And it looks like we have a 12-sided dice, some dominoes, some Scrabble letters, some checker pieces, some chess pieces, our Monopoly, the hat, who always wanted to be the hat. And there's the iron. There's a little wheelbarrow over there. And we've got the life cars. There's one there and one there. We do have, it's kind of hard to see, but they're hidden, the little life pegs in there. We do have some battleship ships and some of those pegs in there, and then also some poker chips. So I'd be interested for some that had some of the larger numbers. What other ones did you see if you wanted to put those in the chat?
And I know Robert saying in the chat, he counted the dice as one, so.
Yeah. Well, it is a different, like, you know, there's a 6-sided die and then there's other ones. So you might want to keep that in mind for the next one, just saying. Okay. Oops. All right. So now we're going to do round 2.
You got this, honey. You got this.
So round 2, I'm going to show you a different picture and I'm going to still give you 45 seconds. But what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to count how many new or different types of pieces that you'd see. Okay. All right. And here we go.
Sweet girl.
Got 5 seconds left. All right. So how many new pieces did you see? Okay, I'm saying 5, 6, 7. Lincoln logs. Maybe I didn't see those. So I counted 5 different pieces. And so we've got our little meeples, which are little, you know, player characters there. Some round tokens, and there's some square tokens. There's a couple of the 20-sided die there. And now this one I kind of gave credit for how Monopoly House or Hotel, because I know one's red and one's green, but these look like they're the same size. And I think from the last time I played Monopoly, they're 2 different sizes, if I'm not correct. The little greenhouse. Oh, was that the little greenhouse? Was that a Lincoln log? Oh, okay. Awesome. Okay.
No, I don't think it was. I was just
Okay.
wrong.
Well, I tried to kind of do a very convoluted, very busy picture of the first and one that was a little more simple for the second. So there's some of those, because I'm not sure, but yeah. But all right. So now when we're talking about games, what is a game? And there's a lot of different definitions or types of things out there that can be considered a game, but this is probably the definition that I kind of like the best because it's sort of the broadest yet sort of the most concise at the same time. And that's a game is a system in which players engage in an artificial conflict defined by rules that result in a quantifiable outcome. So with the game, there's a beginning and then there's an end. So you have these, there's a lot of the game mechanics kind of in between rules that define, and then there's an outcome. And that outcome can be dependent on the play or those rules and mechanics within it. So then because when we're talking about what exactly is a game mechanic or a game element, well, this is just a list. Carl Kapp has done a lot of work in some like games for training and learning. And this is just a list of some examples. This isn't an exhaustive list either, but game mechanics or elements are things obviously like goals and rules, competition, cooperation, rewards, feedback, levels, storytelling, themes and aesthetic, and replay or do over. And that is one of the great things about games is it's an avenue or a place where you can fail safely. So you can try again to figure out what's going to work. So now we have puzzles. So a puzzle, the dictionary definition of a puzzle is something that's devised or made for the purpose of testing one's ingenuity, knowledge, or patience. So when you think of a puzzle, is a puzzle a game? Anybody have any guesses or thoughts? Yeah, it can be, but I believe that a puzzle is a type of game. And so Tickenbis and Zimmerman, their definition is that a puzzle is a special kind of game in which there is a single correct answer or set of correct answers. So yes, like said in the chat, there is a beginning and an end to it. And when you're thinking about it as a game, as an example of a jigsaw puzzle, okay, your conflict is your pictures in a million different pieces. What are your rules? Well, you can only put the pieces together, so the little knobs and sockets will only go together in a certain way. You're limited by that. And your outcome is you're only going to get one picture at the end. There's only one way to put it together. So yes, puzzles are types of games, and puzzles are easy things to kind of add to learning, to courses and things like that. So now I'm going to ask, what is gamification? So what's the difference? Is there a difference? Does anybody want to chime in on that? So we have, let's see, levels, and then specifies to be quantifiable and outcome. Okay. The definition of the game. Yeah. I mean, I can see that, and let's see, elements. So to make more entertaining, yes. So gamification is using game-based mechanics, aesthetics, and game thinking to engage people, motivate action, promote learning, and solve problems. So what gamification is not is just slapping points or leaderboard on something. Gamification needs to be strategic when you're looking to add it to a learning environment. So a great example, kind of comparison. So we have, a game sort of has a beginning and an end. And then gamification doesn't necessarily have to have that beginning or end. So a good example is like the TOPkit Are Finding Kevin would be an example of a game. And that was using the tool, though you were given clues, you had to hunt, and at the end, you found the word, and there, you kind of won, so to speak, or escaped when you found Kevin. So another example of gamification with TOPkit would be the leaderboard or the treasure hunt. So yes, it is a leaderboard, but the purpose of that is to have attendees, interact with each other, with the sessions, with the Socio app. And so there was really strategy behind those points, and that, there's some fun with it too, but also is helping to kind of engage in that platform. So how do you think, or how can you link games to learning? Because sometimes people are like, oh, that's, you can't do that, but I think that you can. And I think there's certain easy ways to do that. And you really need to think of it instead of a massive one, big game. Think about it one objective at a time or one topic at a time. When you're thinking about adding games to your course, you're not going to gamify an entire course because, I mean, I guess you could technically, but that's going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort and skills that, may not always have or take time to develop. So linking to your story or your narrative is also another ways, or the content, if you're playing a game relating to a particular topic, incorporate that into that game. Games, while you're talking about one particular objective, that they may require many skills to complete that particular game. And so that's a benefit, and that's how you can kind of link that when you're thinking too. And again, like I said, starting simple, just planning out with that one objective and starting with one or two games or puzzles or something to add to a course, and you can always expand it at that, but you don't want to overwhelm yourself or the participants or your learners. So we're going to take another little puzzle break here. So we're going to give you an example of, I'm going to give you a couple of what's called rebus puzzles, and those are basically image puzzles. So those are images that represent kind of a word or phrases. And I'll give you a few minutes to put in. And again, you can put it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself if you know what they happen to be. And they are Florida locations, by the way, because they were kind of what I could sort of think of quickly. So here we go. So what do these represent? Disney World, yeah. Oh, okay. Looks like Brooke is, yep. Siesta Key. Yes, Cocoa Beach. Yes. So yes, good. All right. So again, that's a very kind of simple, easy way to think about a very, quick puzzle, or a way you could even have, people generate puzzles. And I saw somebody there from Cocoa Beach. I grew up in Merritt Island, so I'm from that, I'm from that side of the state, so,
Wonderful. I'm sitting in Rockledge right now.
Oh, yep. Okay. I know where that is. So yep. I'm familiar with that. So all right. So next would like to whoop, there we go. Okay. I thought I went a little too fast, but I'm gonna show you a very quick little video. It's about 2 minutes, and it's from the Entertainment Software Association. And it's kind of simple, but I think it does a good job of kind of a quick summation of games, especially today. So they did an essentials, they do some research, and they do some work with gaming companies and things like that. But they have if you go to their site, they have some great kind of research on particularly video games. But so here we go. Oops. There we go.
Every day in households across the United States, millions of Americans play. Roughly 65% of all Americans play video games regularly. That's more than 212 million of us playing games to have fun, be entertained, and hang out with friends and family. Every year, the Entertainment Software Association surveys Americans to find out what impact video games have on their lives. Here's what we learned. Video games build community. They offer opportunities to meet new people, from neighbors to new friends across the world. Half of people who play say they have met a good friend, spouse, or a significant other through games. Games are fun. That's the #1 reason most of us play. But we also know that playing video games can have other meaningful benefits. Games also help deepen connections with the people we love. Over 75% of US parents play games with their kids, creating special moments that are fun for the whole family. We learned that who plays video games is far more varied than we might assume. The ratio of men and women playing games is split roughly 50-50 today. And while the majority of players are adults, more than 75% of kids in the US play video games regularly. The fun that Americans are having also has a big economic impact. A staggering $56.6 billion was spent last year on video games, hardware, and accessories. Play is a universal need for kids as well as adults. Video games build community, keep our minds sharp, and bring us closer to the people we love. Embracing the power of games unveils our extraordinary potential, transforming lives and the world. To explore this data and more, check out the
Okay. So again, you could go to that site, and I have the resources page on my slide if you want to look and do some investigating around that. So there's some interesting, and this is an example, this was a chart from, they did a Power of Play global report where they surveyed, game players from 12 different countries. And it's showing here that players, they use video games as an example, but they thought that playing these games helped them with these certain skills. So if you look at these skills like cognitive skills, problem solving, creativity, language, inclusion, all of those things are things that we want to add to our course, right? So why not tap into some of that motivation and use, some of that desire to play in our courses? And this was another that I found interesting, because in this survey that they surveyed the genres of game, and a lot of people just automatically assume it's video games, it's the action or shooter games, and yes, those are up there in the percentages, but if you look, puzzle games, arcade and other games, skills and chance, those are up there as well. And so those are easier things, you might not have the ability, or not sure, for shooter and action games, in necessarily maybe in the right application, but those are a little bit harder to develop. But puzzle games and skill and chance games definitely are things that you can add to a course, and those are a little easier to kind of create, to be able to add. So this is kind of sort of wrapping up why we want to use games in learning. And this is a quote from Rafe Koster from The Theory of Play. And I love this quote because games are something special and unique. They are concentrated chunks ready for our brains to chew on. And I think if we think about that way, again, when we have the idea of we have a game, it is a great way for something to be focused and motivated on. And it's a benefit for a lot of different reasons. And I think there's ways, we can add that. So I'm going to do another little, I'm doing okay on time. So I'm going to do another little game break. And this is from flippity.net. And we can put that into the chat, but this is kind of a great online free tool, and you can create different types of games and puzzles using the Google tools with it. So there's a whole big variety of things on there that you can see. So let's see, it'll take me. So all of these, and like I said, they use Google spreadsheets and Google tools to kind of make these. You can demo these, and there's a lot of really great things that you can, once you download the instructions and the template, you have a link. Again, you want to be careful if you're using, thinking about, FERPA and things like that, but these are some great ways that you can add some fairly simple types of things to a course. So the one that we're going to do is down here. So I'm going to do a quick demo here. So I'm going to ask for something, and if Susie, you would kind of give me a very quick from the chat. So the first one that answers in the chat. So I need a number greater than 1.
Ooh, we have 56, first one was from Rob.
56. Okay. Animals.
Animals. Marmoset was our first one.
Oh, marmoset. Oh. Hope I spelled that right. Okay. Breakfast food.
Pancakes. People are getting ahead of you.
Okay. And yeah, I'm not that great at typing that fast. A female name.
Female name. Allie.
Allie. An adjective.
Adjective. Voluptuous. They're making
Vol-
it hard on you.
Okay, voluptuous. Okay. And another adjective.
Beautiful.
B-A-U-T-F-U. Okay, beautiful. And a noun.
Nail. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Castle.
Castle.
First one.
Okay.
I feel like
Nail.
nail gun.
Adjective.
Adjective. Shiny.
Shiny. Another adjective.
Dysfunctional.
Okay. Dysfunctional. Is that with a Y or an S? Well, okay. We'll just move. Another noun.
Yes. Tree.
Tree. Another adjective.
Oh, we're slowing down. Another adjective. Combustible.
Combustible. Okay. And a command.
Learn. Wait.
Learn. Okay.
First one.
So, all right.
Racist. They're really good at this.
So here we go with our little story here. So our fairy tale, once upon a time, there were 56 marmosets. One morning, they decided to go for a stroll where their pancakes cooled down. After they left, a girl named Allie entered their house. First, she ate their breakfast and said, "Too voluptuous." Then she sat down on their beautiful castle and said, "Too shiny." Finally, she lay down on the dysfunctional tree and said, "This is combustible." She fell asleep, the animals returned and noticed that someone had eaten their breakfast. Suddenly, she woke up, screamed, "Learn!" and ran from the house. So, yes. So again, that's the Mad Libs, or, well, I think maybe Mad Libs might be I don't know if that's trademark or copyrighted, but so that's just kind of an example of sort of a fun tool. So let's see if I can go back to, okay. So now, hopefully we've got enough time that we're going to do a little bit of a brainstorming activity. So we've got breakout rooms set up, and they're set up to the 3 different kind of general ideas of the 3 games that we've played so far. So we've got sort of the I Spy scavenger hunt, our rebus or image puzzles, and then our word story. And so what I'd like you to do is just think and talk to each other about different ways that you might be able to use these particular games. If you have another game, or if this inspires another type of game, by all means. But you want to think what your learning objective is, because that's really important with games. Games, you know, they should relay back to your particular learning objective or learning goal, what your audience may be, and then how it will be played. So just if you'll take maybe about 10 minutes to just kind of brainstorm and talk to each other about some ideas. And yeah,
we did have a question from Christy.
Oh, okay, sure.
Can it be used in an asynchronous course, Flippity?
So the Flippity, yes, because what happens is when you generate something, it generates like a link. And so then you can put that link into a course. So it doesn't save, and sometimes it depends on the kind of the Flippity game that you're setting up. But the instructions are pretty good that kind of walk you through how to change. If you wanted to change, you know, things, you can kind of take those and edit them. and then it generates that link to use. So if we can split up into our break rooms for about 10 minutes.
And you do have till 2:45, so just want you to know that, okay?
Okay. So maybe we'll do 7 minutes.
Yeah, if you want, if they have questions or anything.
Yeah. Or if not, actually, have you started it yet, Susie?
Oh, maybe I didn't, do I have to start it?
Oh,
Oh, wait, open all rooms, I'm sorry, there we
no,
go.
that's okay. I was gonna say, because we could, since we have the shortage of time, we could just, talk about it over, we don't have to split people and pull them back because we may not have enough time.
It's up to you. Some people are already going.
Okay, well, if some people have already gone, then we'll just go ahead and,
Just give them a few minutes. and-
yeah.
Yeah.
Or even if they just wanted to look at the Flippity, if they want to go to the Flippity site and just explore and see if there's something there that they can use.
And
That's
if
an
you
option
want to
too.
join any room, I can stay out here and make sure no one, I don't know, does anything.
Okay. All right. Well, it looks like we've got a couple in the scavenger hunt. I'll jump into the word story and. Okay. Oh, it's back. Okay, and thank you, Susie. It looks like people are going to be popping back in here for just a second. So I don't know, did we have any?
If you want to ask for questions or anything, you got about
Yeah,
5 more minutes. Yeah,
um,
open it up.
yeah, if anybody has any, you know, kind of questions about anything, I appreciate it. I have a list of the resources from my presentation, which I believe we send those, and those are end up on the TOPkit site. So I'll have those if anybody has any questions about of any of that information. But if anybody has any questions about any of the
Oh, I
oh,
think.
okay.
Yeah,
So
they
people
Got
got yanked back in. So
Yank.
does anybody have any, you know, kind of we've got a few minutes if anybody has any questions, or if anybody wants to share an idea, or like that aha, like, oh, you know, if they got anything from, you know, or even if they said, you know, looking at the flippity and see if there's anything they can, you know, kind of use or adapt, if anybody has any kind of last minute thoughts or questions or anything. It's eerily quiet. Well, hopefully, if anybody has any questions, again, the presentation will be in the um I guess with the TOPkit and the Socio app. So appreciate that. If anybody has any kind of questions, I'd love talking about this stuff. Digital escape rooms are kind of one of my favorite things. So if anybody wants to reach out and talk about different
Deb, I do want to point out there is a question in the chat.
Oh,
from
okay.
Christy. And then Christy, if you don't mind, I'd also reiterate the question she asked in our breakout group about kind of like the process behind creating the games, like going about it. I think that's kind of a question that we don't always talk about. It's like the front end, here's what we did, but what's the process behind it too, right? Like how did we go about getting, you know, the faculty to provide their content, you know, how do we organize ourselves and all of that? I think those are
Yeah.
important too.
And those are excellent questions, and I wish I had a more definite kind of answer, but one of the things I always tell people, if you're thinking about wanting to create or add games or things like that, the best way is to play games yourself. Now, that's not saying you have to full on, you know, go into a whole big long role playing Dungeons and Dragons, you know, thing, or, you know, buy a whole Xbox system. There are ways, you know, lots of online games, but I think that helps you to see how some of those mechanics and how some of those things work. So then you can take them and then adapt them to what you're wanting to do. So I think that's probably one of the best things that you can do, is just to see, you know, what people are doing. There's a ton of ways that you can, you know, if you Google educational games, you'll see a ton of stuff, you know, pop up. And so, but I mean, even taking a game like, you know, Wordle, like you have those kind of mechanics. So just thinking of a way, like, how can you possibly adapt that into, you know, into a course or into, you know, and things like that. So I think that's kind of one of the big things.
And Deborah, we have a question about recommended games for asynchronous courses and a question about blooms.
Blooms, okay.
I guess Bloom's taxonomy. Christy, if you're here.
Yeah, if you want to maybe expand on the Bloom's taxonomy, your question.
But there's also one about
Okay.
if you have any recommended for asynchronous courses, games.
With asynchronous, there's well, the first one, and I think just because it was popped into my head, is Kahoot does have an option, and I do think, though, it's the free version, I think, gives you a limited number of seats, but there is an option where you can you know, do Kahoot as like a lesson, so to speak. So they have to kind of go through it themselves. I just found Flippity and I've been playing Flippity. Thing Link is another one that you can do. You know, if you participated in the Find Kevin scavenger hunt, you can create the Thing Link and put different options in there, and then you just kind of give them the link that they would go to. There's a lot of things that you can do with Google Forms and Google Slides. You can kind of make sort of some escape room type games and puzzle games with those. And again, that's you're just generating the link and submitting it, you know, putting it in the course. I'm sure there's probably some other game engines out there or some other things that are available that you might need to pay for. I tend to not look at those too much just because I know it can be difficult to pay, you know, the costs associated with that.
And quickly, Deborah,
sure.
Christy's question was what level of blooms and what action verbs align with scavenger hunts? Like, I guess broadly.
Wow. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I think when you're talking about like scavenger hunts that when you're looking at different things, I think it really kind of depends on the puzzles that you're using. So if you're looking at, you know, some of the simpler things, you know, like remembering and those kinds of things, you know, the matching might be a lower level, but you know, a higher order might have to do with finding if you're collecting pieces, say in a scavenger hunt, and then you have to find out, you know, how they relate to each other or, you know, combine them in a certain way. That's a little bit higher order thinking. So I think that it kind of depends on how you're setting it up. But that's a good question, something to kind of think about, you know, when you're doing these. So I saw Genially. Yes, I have heard of that one. I haven't played with it. H5P, that's another one. I haven't played with Lumi, but
yeah, and we are done. We are actually at game time. So thank you, Deborah. We really appreciate
thank you so much. I
presentation.
appreciate it. Hopefully you had a little bit of fun today.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Have a great weekend and happy Easter.
Yes. Let's stop the recording. Are you sure you want to?